and just a great figure for the community, Mr. Bobby Audley.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. All right, now be honest with yourself. Was that the best good afternoon you could give me? Was that the best good afternoon you could give me? Be honest. Maybe for some of you it was. Maybe you're thinking, yeah, I'm pretty happy with that good afternoon. And that's okay. But my second question, a better question, is did you stretch to give that good afternoon? Did you push yourself to give that good afternoon? Did that good afternoon push you outside of your comfort zone? Do me a favor, rate that good afternoon you just gave, your performance. We're all giving our performances. Rate your performance on a scale of 1 to 10. There it is. Scale of 1 to 10. 1 being that was the worst, most boring, most horrible good afternoon you could have possibly given. And 10 being that was the most fantastic, outstanding, exciting, pushed yourself, stretched yourself, best good afternoon you could possibly give. 10 being the greatest, 1 being the worst. Give yourself a rating in your head right now. Now, how many of you have a number in your head at or about a level 7? How many of you have at or about a level 7 by show of hands? Most of the room has at or about a level 7 in their head for their good afternoon. Why is that? Why is it that most of us showed up in this little moment that might not matter at a level 7? Now, some of you are thinking, I like level 7. Level 7's okay, because level 7's a little bit above 5, and 5 is average. But it's not quite 10, because obviously I didn't give you a 10. You didn't earn my 10. I don't know who you are, right? Obviously, if I really had to, I could give more. If I really had to, if this moment actually mattered, I could and I would give more, right? We're okay with 7. We're cool with 7. 7 makes us feel comfortable. 7 is okay for us, and that's okay. But I'm here to challenge you, and I'm here to challenge you with this simple idea. What if we started to believe that the way you do anything is the way you do everything? The way you do anything is the way you do what? Everything. What if we started to believe that the way we did anything was the way we did everything? If that were truly the case, would that change the way you feel about a level 7? Would that change the way you think about giving a level 7, even in this thing that seemingly doesn't matter, such as a good afternoon? You see, when I was in high school, I was an athlete. And I remember standing on the sideline of my first ever varsity lacrosse game. I'm standing on the sideline, and I finally hear my coach say, Audley, you're in. I ran out onto the field. The ball finally comes to me for the first time. Someone actually passed me the ball, right? It comes to me, and the ball hits off the side of my stick and hits the ground. I start shaking. I fumble around, I pick it up, I look over, and there's a teammate standing on the sideline, and he's wide open. So I pass him the ball, and it soars high and wide out of bounds. And this is my first play as a varsity athlete. So I come off the field. My head coach doesn't even look at me. My assistant coach waves me over to him. I go over to my assistant coach, and he asks me, are you nervous? And in my head, I thought, yeah, genius. Like, that's why I just blew it out there. But of course, I didn't say that to my coach. All I said to my coach was, yeah. And he looked at me, and all he said was, don't be. Everybody say, don't be. Don't be. Those two simple words were all that needed to be said. Those two simple words were as complex as it needed to get. You see, when a coach decides to put a player out onto a field, what's happening? What's happening is the coach in their head is assessing the situation. They're saying, based on what's out there, we think that we have a player who can go out on the field and give a level 8, 9, or 10 performance, right? So when they sent me out onto the field, they thought, Bobby can go give an 8, 9, or 10 performance. I go out onto the field. I have the skill and the ability to give an 8, 9, or 10. But I show up at a 1, 2, or 3. Why do I show up at a 1, 2, or 3? Because I don't have 8, 9, or 10 skill or ability? No, because I was nervous. And my coach was smart enough to recognize that. Recognize that I was showing up at a level below my ability. I was performing at a level below my ability because of this thing that I had control of, this thing that I had created, getting nervous. You see, I look at performance and its relationship to skill and ability like this. If you were to make a line graph, and on the x-axis you put skill and ability, on the y-axis you put performance, right? 0, 10, 10. In a perfect world, if you have a level 1 skill or ability, you're going to show up, you're going to perform at a level 1 in a perfect world. In a perfect world, if you have a level 10 skill or ability, you're going to perform, you're going to show up at a level 10. True or true? True. It's obviously true. So you're going to show up at a level 10. And so in a perfect world, our relationship between skill and ability and performance is just an upward trajectory. The better you get in your skill and ability, the better your performance will be. But we don't live in a perfect world. We know that this is not what happens. We know that what happens more often than not is the situation that I described, where I had a level 10. I'll be confident, cocky enough to say, I have a level 10 ability to catch and throw a ball. I have a level 10 ability to catch and throw a ball. It's the most simple task in any sport with a ball, and especially in lacrosse. So I have a level 10 ability to catch and throw the ball. But I performed at a level 1. And we see this all the time in sports, in performances, in our jobs, in our lives, with our families. We have the ability to show up, but we don't. We've seen this. The other one that we don't see quite as often, but does happen, is when people have a level 1 skill or ability, and they show up at a level 10. And some people are thinking, well, when does that occur? Well, when I was in high school, again, I decided that I wanted to compete in the academic decathlon because I was one of the cool kids. So I wanted to compete in the academic decathlon, mainly because there were 2 events that excited me. There was the speech competition and an interview, and I wanted to compete in those competitions. But I learned that it's the academic decathlon. You have to compete in all 10 events. So I show up ready to do the 2 that I want to do, and I'm going through the motions with the other events, and then I get to one event where I don't even have the skill and the ability to go through the motions, and it was an economics exam. As you can see by this complex graph that I drew, economics and statistics are not my strong suits, and they weren't, especially as a high school student. So I had a level 1 skill and ability at that point as a high school student in economics. And so I decide the first time I'm going to test out this theory that if you put C for every answer, apparently it gives you a pretty good shot. So I decide I'm going to test this theory. So I put C for every single answer on the economics exam. And we get to the end of the day, we get to the end of the event, and they're giving out awards for everybody on how they did. Well, guess who got a silver medal in economics? This guy. My economics teacher was actually the advisor for the group, and he just gave me the glaring look when I got a silver medal. He's a great guy. He knew what I did. So, so that's an example where you can have a level 1 skill or ability, but you show up at a level 9 since I got silver. And this is the reality. This is the world that we live in, that we don't always show up to the level that we have. We think we show up to our best, but really what we're giving our best is a level 7. 7 is what we're allowing to say, in that moment, that was the best I could do. When I went out on that lacrosse field, I did the best I could. I was a sophomore on a senior-laden team. I can't believe I'm even on the field. You know, the fact that I set foot on the field, I could go tell my friends I played in that game, right? So I was doing my best in that moment, but was I really doing my skill or my ability? Those of us that get up here on this stage, we have nerves that come over us when we get up here. So are we really giving our best? So giving our best is such a low bar. So why don't we push ourselves, stretch ourselves to reach beyond that, to live life outside your comfort zone, to stretch? Again, going back to that first little example that we did. If you believe that the way you do anything is truly the way you do everything, does that change the way you think about giving a level 7 performance in a simple good afternoon? You know, we often put these idols in front of us of, when I get to that level, that's when I'll show up. Why don't we show up in these little moments? That's where life happens, is in these little tiny moments. And when we get to those big moments, we have a lot of great excuses, right? You know, you'll see it all the time with teams that have a level 10 season. They make it to the playoffs. It's the first time the team's ever been to the playoffs, and they have to go to the other team's field. So immediately the other team has the advantage because it's the home field advantage. So that team that had a great season plays at a level 7 and loses because the other team found a way to play at a level 8. And they have many great excuses. Well, they had the home field advantage. We were nervous. It was the playoffs. Things came over us. We see it in classrooms. I'm just not a good test taker. The teacher knows you have a level 10 skill and ability in this subject, but I'm just not a good test taker, so that's why I showed up at a 7 on this test. We see it in our jobs. I will interview phenomenally well for all these jobs I don't care about, but then there's the job that really means something to me, that really is a big promotion, that I feel I deserve, that's going to be a big move for our family, and anxiety and nerves just overcome me, and I can't show up at a level 10 in that moment. We place so much pressure on ourselves in those big moments. What if we believe that the way you do anything is truly the way you do everything? Would that change the way you feel about a level 7 in a simple good afternoon? Would that change the way you decide to show up? My challenge to you is to take on that belief. Take on that belief. Because when I said good afternoon, a number of things happened in this room. Some of you got real excited. Some of you were like, yeah, good afternoon. And maybe out of the corner of your eye, the person you came in with who was sitting next to you was sitting down, looking at you like you're crazy. And so you immediately shot back in your chair. You shrunk a little bit. You got red. You looked at that person. You're like, oh, you can't believe I just did that, right? Some of you were the person sitting down. You were the person sitting down looking at your friend like, hey, I didn't know we were going to do that. I didn't know we were going to jump. I didn't know we were going to participate. You know, it's an hour after lunch. I'm tired, right? I got to go to the bathroom already. Like, we come up with these reasons. And some of you were sitting back to see what everybody else did because you don't want to make a fool of yourself regardless. And so if nobody gave me anything, you would have been like, good, I made the right decision. But because the majority said good afternoon, you jumped in a half second later. Good afternoon. So at least you joined the group. I don't know what happened to you in that moment, but I'm challenging you. If the way we do anything is truly the way we do what? Everything. Then isn't that feeling that held you back in that moment? Isn't that feeling that overcame you? That feeling in your gut, you know what it is, that caused you to show up at a level 7? If the way we do anything is truly the way we do everything, isn't that feeling at least worth thinking about? Thank you.